Good evening, YouTube, or good late evening, YouTube. This is Tired Metalhead Weatherman. Very chaotic Wednesday on my front, so I apologize for this video being late, but plenty to talk about. We have tonight's ongoing severe weather threat, which should be diminishing pretty soon. And then we have an uptick in tomorrow's severe weather threat. Briefly going to touch up on those. This shouldn't be a very long video at all. Trying to get this channel to grow a little bit. So of course, gonna keep asking for the whole YouTube hoopla. Excuse me. So like, comment, share, subscribe, etc. I'm not gonna waste too much more time. Just gonna get right into it here. So we have ongoing severe weather right now in Wisconsin. We have some storms that are looking to fire around the Panhandle of Texas and the Panhandle of Oklahoma into central Kansas. Likelihood for a watch right now, relatively minimal, but we'll keep an eye on this as the nighttime goes on. So as far as severe weather reports today, pretty active. 62 hail reports, 25 wind reports, and 5 confirmed tornado reports right now, leaving us at a grand total of 92. So I'd say that meets outbreak criteria. Not necessarily tornado outbreak criteria, but severe weather outbreak parameters. Including a couple of significant hail reports and wind reports as well. So, anyway, we do have some ongoing severe thunderstorm and tornado warnings around Minnesota and leading into Wisconsin. And we don't have any real activity right now around the Panhandle of Texas at the moment. So, let's take a look at what the radar could look like over the next couple of days, and then we'll try and get an enhanced look at the, speaking of which, I'm messing up. Looking at the enhanced risk for tomorrow, and there's also a slight risk for Friday, but we will go into detail about that tomorrow. So, we are within 48 hours finally, so we can actually get a look at our hazard outlooks. So we look at hail. We have a significant hail area, hatched risk, along with a 30 and a 15 in that area. So pretty much from Fargo, almost as far south as McCook, Nebraska, from Fargo, North Dakota, or Fargo, Minnesota, all the way down towards McCook. There is an area where you are in an increased likelihood for some hail greater than 2 inches in diameter. Then we look towards the wind report. The wind hazard, we don't have a hatch risk area, but we do have a 45% area, which is really high. And this area includes Sioux Falls and areas just to the east of Aberdeen, South Dakota. Our 30% area now includes Minneapolis and the eastern side of Fargo, and Omaha and Lincoln. You guys are pretty much in there as well. So now we'll look at the tornado threat finally, and we now have a 10% area, and this is for areas just east of Aberdeen, and then further to the north this is areas just to the south, and maybe even including Fargo. There is a pretty high tornado threat, 10% chance of a tornado within 25 miles of a given point. So we'll have to watch these really closely. Now that I've spoken on that, we can now take a look at the radar, at what the radar could look like finally. New guy on YouTube, always making little fumbles here and there. So, try not to get too far ahead of myself here. It's upper level low. It's our troublemaker, as I like to call it, the catalyst behind everything. HRRR is kind of showing a threat a little bit further south than what I was expecting. We do have a sufficient warm sector, so we could watch these storms a little bit further up to the north, but I think anything to the south and east of that low as usual is always going to be a point of interest, maybe behind this could be interesting. But I think for the most part, that's going to be behind our front. Oh, there we go. Marginal tornado threat. And there are supercell matches and significant hail matches as well. Cape values are ridiculously high. So this is going to be something really interesting. Oops. Move this further along. I think in the early stages around Nebraska, that's into the late evening hours or mid-afternoon hours. That's when I think the worst weather is in line for you guys. And then, dang it, not again. And we move this further along. I think that's further along. That's when South Dakota, North Dakota come into play. And then we'll have to watch Minnesota really closely into heading towards the overnight hours. But by then, I think this threat will really start to deteriorate. And then we can take a look at Friday. Brief look at Friday. So it looks like we have some activity towards Texas and maybe even a little bit towards the Gulf Coast. Maybe a marginal risk might get issued here around Arkansas, Louisiana, and Mississippi, especially towards the coast. Then towards central Texas, we'll watch that real close. I'm really interested to see what has made them go up to a 10% risk. So we're going to take a look at the low-level jet real quick. I mean, we do have good values here. We're hitting that 40-50 knot mark pretty easily. That 40 to 45 knot mark, I should say. And then as we get later into the evening, this is only going to pick up. And look, lo and behold, look here. We're getting towards the 50s, 55, maybe even a couple of 60s are possible in this area. And then the later we get into the overnight, I think just when we're getting into the late evening hours, about maybe, I would say 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock-ish, or well, between 7 and 9 o'clock, I think that's when we're going to have the greatest threat for tornadoes around this area here, where this low-level jet is really maximized. Meanwhile, we do have a secondary area that tries to pop up here as that moves further east, well, north and east, I should say. And then we'll take a sneak peek into Friday. We'll get more in depth with it tomorrow, but things look pretty unclear too. It's not a very impressive threat according to this model, but of course things will become a lot more telling by tomorrow afternoon. But this is all I got for you guys tonight. A little bit quicker of a video. Trying to be a little bit more efficient with these. To think that I would actually have a video about severe weather that's about to be less than 10 minutes, but hey, it's a little treat for you and for me. So now I'm going to go to bed and rest. But you guys have a good night. You guys stay metal, stay safe.